Welcome to the 31st Annual Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs Garden Tour Extravaganza. We're going to join you again today and share some most marvelous gardens. Aren't we lucky, Diana?
They're beautiful and unusual at the same time.
That's right. We've got Diana Linkus, who is our co-president of the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs. So we're going to get to know her a little bit, what the council does, and a little bit about the tour. Diana, tell us about the council. Why are we here at the station? What does the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs do? Why do they have the garden tour?
Okay, we're here at the station because the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs, which is sort of an umbrella organization over the local garden clubs, and we own this station, we own the building, and we own all of the grounds around it.
That's right.
So part of the garden club is a fundraiser for us to maintain both the gardens as well as the physical building. Another purpose of our garden tour is to see the beauty that we find where the plants that are growing in the Lebanon environment.
That's right.
And
just to see what grows here, what's native to our area, what excels, and then sometimes there's some surprises that aren't so native too.
Because you see some different plants, you have an opportunity to say, I might want to try that. And I think when you go to the gardens, you really can come back inspired, because you might want to try that way of planting, you might want to try that new plant, and it's an opportunity to learn. It's an education process as well.
That's right. Well put. Melville Rosenkrantz and Phyllis Holtkamp were members of the garden club, and way back 30-some years ago, they were the organizers. And that was their goal, was to inspire people to beautify Lebanon, and of course to make our money, and then to educate. And I think the garden tour does a great job in doing that. But also the Garden Council does educational things and informative things for they have like the November holiday meeting for the general public.
Local garden clubs, as well as we've had some from Mainville, Waynesville come, and anyone in the community is invited. And we've had some really interesting speakers who've talked on the range of arrangements for garden decoration, birds, gourds, and it's just been very entertaining, and it's a nice social time at the same time.
We had Roy McCutcheon one year talk about poinsettias and how he's an expert in his horticultural field in that, in his education. Flowers by Roger came and did wonderful arrangements. And we had the gourd lady one year. So anyhow, take a look at that. Every November we offer an event for the whole community to come and enjoy. Something to do with nature and flowers. And then we do the plant sale, which we just had.
We have a plant sale in the early part of May. And many of our members are either growing from seed, or they're splitting plants at home, digging them up, bringing them in. And we had a very successful time this year by having it one late afternoon, evening, and 2 mornings. And we had a great variety of, especially vegetables this year. We had, I don't know how many different types of tomatoes, as well as perennials. We had trees, we had some ground covers, we had many hostas, we had annuals. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get a really good buy on plants.
That's great.
In May.
And we do the Christmas judging as well as the fair judging. We help out with that. So the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs, like Diana says, owns and maintains the Lebanon Station. Back in the 70s, the ladies gathered together and they built this building, which is, I think, the second most photographed area in Lebanon. So the Golden Lamb, of course, first, and then the station. You always see young families, graduates, wedding parties.
Lots of graduates around here in the last couple of weeks. So it's been fun.
It's fun to have the train station here at our train depot, and we welcome you to come and see our new gardens too. Something's been happening here at the gardens at the station too.
You know, we have had some wonderful members who are so talented and creative. And they have kind of refreshed the garden, took out plants such as some of the perennials that took a lot of maintenance, replaced them with some new plants, new trees, less maintenance, and just redesigned it in that respect. They also went into that herb garden and totally revised it.
Just gorgeous.
Made it so interesting, and it's a great educational tool for anyone interested in herbs, because they have put gigantic pots in, which someone may not have ever thought about before.
Right.
It
helps maintain the roots.
It maintains
so that
the roots
lemon balm doesn't go all over the place.
Yeah. And also, I had learned at one, I guess, Cox Arboretum,
yes,
that a lot of herbs are Mediterranean oriented, and they like their roots warm. So having a pot that
keeps the heat
radiates the heat down to the roots is helpful as well. So it kind of has a double purpose.
I never knew that.
That's
neat. All right. So, and that's one of the responsibilities of a garden club member, is to help maintain this area.
Yes, it is.
Also, just bring your family down and see the mint and calendula. I don't even know if I said that right.
And the hops that are growing up.
We've got beer hops. Maybe there will be a Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs train station beer from our new brewery coming up. But we've even got hops, and that blossom is so unusual and beautiful. But that's growing up the pole here at the train station. So come and take a look. Look at our signs that tell about the plants and learn a few things.
And that's something else that is in the plans, is signage for all the varieties that we have here, and that is something that we are looking forward to getting done.
Great.
Identifying them as well as giving a little information about the different varieties of plants.
Super duper. So this is the
coming
31st year for having the tour.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about when is it, the time, prices?
Okay, so last weekend, Saturday and Sunday of June.
26 and 27.
And it goes from 11 to 5,
right,
both days. And you can get your tickets online at the Brick House.
Right, you can go in person to the Brick House.
Yes. And the ice cream parlor.
Right here, the Village Ice Cream Parlor. And online, you go to the Warren County Historical Society.
Exactly.
Just go to their website, click on Events, Garden Tour.
And they can be purchased here in person as the day of the tours as well.
The day of the tour, this is the only place to purchase the tickets, right?
Yes.
And the day of the tour, the tickets are
$20.
And if you buy in advance, you save $5, and they are only
$15.
So it's really a good deal, right? So we appreciate the Brick House on Broadway. We appreciate the Village Parlor for selling them in person, and also the Warren County Historical Society for their help. But once you either print out your voucher if you bought them online, or you bring your voucher that you got from the Brick House or the Village Parlor. You bring it here. We give you your map and your ticket that you bring to each location and punch. Is that right?
Right.
Right.
And there's one additional addendum to the garden tour this year, is we're doing a scavenger hunt.
Ooh, yes, a scavenger hunt.
So within the ticket there will be a card, and on that card you will be marking down when you and where you find the gnome that is going to be found in 9 different gardens.
Okay.
So it will be a kind of a fun idea for you and your family.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, those both Saturday and Sunday, those cards will be collected, and a winner's name will be pulled from those cards, winning a little tree's worth of gift certificates.
Gift cards to all kinds of good places.
From all around good places.
That's right. Well, great. So
that's
going to be
fun.
It'll be a whole new dimension there.
Yes.
You look for the gnome, see what it's pointing at, find out that an unusual ingredient of that garden, like what kind of plant is that, and there'll be a little card you fill out, you turn them in, and then we'll pick one out. And if they're not here to redeem their prizes,
then those folks will be notified, and then their gift cards will be sent to them.
Okay, great. So we are packing a lot of fun in 2 days, June the 26th and the 27th. Scavenger hunt, garden tour, and boy, I just can't wait to show off these gardens for you today.
They're lovely.
So put that on your date. Invite whoever you want. We're rain or shine too.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so you just put on your puddle jumpers and your raincoat and your umbrella and enjoy the gardens, or just enjoy the sunshine that day. So, Diana, I appreciate all the work that you do. How long have you been involved in the Garden Council?
It's been over 30 years, because I was involved before Phyllis and Melva started the tours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's when you were employed by the city school district, right?
Springboro
School District. Okay. So you were a teacher then, and you're a teacher now.
Yes, in a different manner.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you for your service to the kids, and thank you for your service to Lebanon.
Well, you're welcome.
This is one gem that we have in our city. So we appreciate what the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs do, and that you take on this leadership and responsibility. So thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
All right. Let's hit some gardens. Well, here we are at CC Bloom's Flower Farm, and this is the most unusual garden that I think we've ever had on the tour. We're going to be spending time with CC, who is Carol Conrad, and she's going to tell us all about her farm, how she started it, what she loves about flowers, and all about organic gardening and solar-powered barns. And woo, have we got a tour for you that's got a little bit of everything. So Carol, thank you so much for being on the tour this year. And can you tell me, how did you dream this up? How did you start this? What was the inception? What was the dream? And then we'll go on to the journey and the struggles.
So the dream basically started, we lived in England for 3 years before we moved here. And we were looking for a property that wasn't surrounded by GMO farms because we wanted to do things.
Now, what's a GMO?
Anyway, those are farms that use chemicals that I question whether they're healthy for the human beings, but they're very accepted, and but we just knew that that's not a compatible combination for when they do their oversprays.
Yes.
Could totally wipe out an entire field of flowers, and that's happened to many flower farmers. So trying to find a location where there wasn't anything and we could start from scratch and nothing was surrounded by farms, this is how we ended up here. And it was definitely by the grace of God, because we had looked and our realtor told us to settle, there was nothing for sale, and this property actually wasn't for sale. But God just directed us to sit out in front of this property, and the owners came out and said, "Can we help you?"
Oh my gosh. So that's a great story.
It was really cool. So, and because we had lived in England for 3 years, they did everything very organically. And I think one of the coolest things I learned is that nothing is ours. Like you talk about being a landowner, it's only ours for a very short amount of time, and we're really stewards of the land. And we want to leave it better than we found it. So when we moved here 6 years ago in July, nothing that you see was here. It was completely a blank slate.
Oh my gosh.
So it was very easy to envision what we wanted to do because we didn't really have to tear anything out. So this whole property used to be part of Hidden Valley Orchard.
Okay.
So when people ask me where we live, we say, well, we're hidden behind Hidden Valley Orchard.
Yes.
So, and it had apple trees, but before they sold, they knocked down all the apple trees, and we were like, oh, we wanted to have an orchard. So that's when we came in and started ours.
You had a blank canvas, and boy, have you filled it with lots of beauty. So now when you talk about, being a steward of the land, I notice you have mounded gardens, which have a special name. Can you tell us about why you developed those and what they do?
We learned a lot about soil chemistry, again, when we were in England, and learned that you really can't change your soil for like 2 generations chemistry-wise.
It takes that long.
It takes that long. So we thought for sure we could do it faster, but very quickly learned that we have really hard clay, just like the majority of people living in Lebanon.
Right.
And the best way to do this was to what they call in England the lasagna method. And it's where you just put cardboard down and then you layer different kinds of compost on top of each other. And the more you layer, the better soil you're going to end up having. And it's a combination between brown and green, brown and green, brown and green.
Grass clippings, leaf compost, that kind of thing?
Exactly.
Okay, so now
we've got a sample over here to show you a bed that we're starting, so you can kind of see what we're doing.
Super. Yeah. Now, and people can kind of see that during the tour too. Will you have a sample for the tour too?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to learn so much here. Okay, so with the lasagna method, you got a lot of beds here. How'd you get that? I mean, we have a small compost bin at my house, but so did you have to purchase that, or?
All right, so over where you hear the tractor going.
Oh yeah.
The city actually
This is a working farm.
The city actually brings in semis of leaves that they pick up in everybody's yard. So
yes.
I want to thank everybody right now for the wonderful leaves that you give the city, because a lot of them end up here.
Super.
And we turn that into our rich compost.
Well, thank you for using that up, though.
Well,
I mean,
really
it's just a great
exciting.
source.
Yeah, and you'll see that instead of all of our beds being covered with what they call plastic sheet mulch to keep the weeds down, ours are covered with 5 to 6 to 7 inches of leaves.
Oh my gosh, and that does the trick.
And it also keeps the moisture in much better. It allows the soil to breathe. It also lets the rain in. But we still have watering systems everywhere because, you know,
so
Ohio will go from...
We never know.
We don't.
We never know.
Yeah.
So now, a swall.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
Well, our property is on a slight incline.
Okay.
So because when it does rain, the water is just rushing down, we've created these mounds called swales.
Swales.
That help hold the water so that it's not running off our land.
Okay. And we're just talking about like a mound about 2 feet tall, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if we do it right and we make them big enough, the water doesn't go over it. This spring we had
torrential rain.
Torrential rain, and we were out there just on our hands and knees, you know, digging troughs out, trying to get the water out because it was very close to going over the swales. So,
and then that would go close to your house, which could cause some difficulty there.
Yeah,
too,
but it's pretty well graded so that it all flows away from the house.
Okay,
but,
good.
You know, so many, especially the waterworks in Lebanon, they're trying to really encourage farmers not to have runoff and to contain their water.
Okay.
So that it soaks into the ground. So,
well, I've got a question. Okay, so since you've got this water going towards that, do you plant things that love intermittent, lots of water?
Absolutely.
So what kind of plants are those?
So we've got river birch that just absolutely, that was one of the things that was here. And they just do absolutely beautiful. And then the perennials that we've got, we actually planted. You'll see our peony bed is up really high because they don't like wet feet, and lavender likes really dry. So we put a really sandy, huge swale there.
Okay.
But yes, we have to vary the types of soil depending upon the plants, the height of the swales depending upon the plants.
And you've really enjoyed this journey of learning about it and finding what's best for them. Okay, so now I got to ask, what's your favorite flower?
Okay.
My favorite plant?
My favorite plant, you know, we love dahlias. We fell in love with dahlias when we were in England. But they all have to be caged, they all have to be dug, they all have to be...
Because they're so heavy, they drop?
Well, not only, they just like that. And, you know, we get pretty big storms. So unless they're not only caged, they also have to be staked, and then we have to join them all together. So,
And how many different types of dahlias do you have?
You know, I don't have the total count right now. I just know that we're close to planting about 1,000.
Oh my gosh.
So,
and tell me the colors. What's your favorite color?
I would say probably my favorite color is, I'm just a yellow person.
A yellow?
And yellow is starting to come back as far as the forest.
Buttercup.
Absolutely. So we've got some beautiful golden.
Pretty.
Yeah.
A lot of sunshine, just like you.
Oh, well, you're a sweetheart.
And just what you need.
Actually, Carol means joy. And so, and yellow is the color for joy.
Perfect.
So it just kind of all ties together.
That's for sure. Yeah. All right. So now we've got your favorite plants. Tell us about all the different flowers that you do have here.
Okay. So we started the farm 6 years ago, and we put in the things that we knew were going to be take the longest to.
Smart.
So we started by putting in our fruit trees, raspberries, blackberries. Goji berries, elderberries.
What's a goji berry?
Goji berry is one of those health
is
berries.
that in the drinks down at the bottom?
It could be. Okay. They're like a reddish orange color. So we put all that in first, and then did a lot of the herbs too, because we were really a lot about healing. And from there, then we did vegetables, and then slowly kind of morphed from flowers that were just supposed to be companion planting for the vegetables. They kind of took over.
Oh gosh, they're just...
So now the vegetables are companion planting for the flowers.
Oh, isn't that... So your dream has kind of changed as you've gotten more and more into it then.
Yeah, I think it was just trying to figure out what can we grow where there's a huge demand for, and we'll enjoy selling and growing. And it definitely, we like growing the vegetables. We've got, incredible amount of food that we eat from,
Yes.
but we really like selling the flowers more than the...
Well, now, what is, I know flowers bring me great joy, and that goes right along with your name and your color of yellow. But, you know, have you had anybody share how much your flowers have meant to them?
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. It is almost like a ministry. So we go to three farmers markets.
I know, Lebanon is one of them.
They are.
Thursdays, catch them there.
Absolutely, 3 to 7. And then we go to Westchester and we go to Reading. So I just love hearing people's stories. And when they see a certain flower, they have a story to go with it. And it's usually about a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle, you know, someone
they
that
pass on that legacy of love of flowers, don't they?
So true. Yeah. It really, really is. And, you know, that's how I started, because my mom loved them and grew them beautifully and did everything organically, from mushroom compost to...
And that's what would be neat, you know, like for any of you who have grandchildren, neighbors, children, bring them on the tour. Let them see all the varieties of all the beautiful colors. And this is one thing, is do your flowers have a scent?
They do, because you know, coming from England, everything really smells good because they don't develop their plants to travel 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
They develop them for taste and for color and for smell. And so they haven't
all the
genetically,
hybrid,
it's
right.
Still there. And you do get more smells in the spring, and as the summer goes on and the heat goes on, it gets a little bit more challenging.
But when you smell a rose here, it's going to smell. It's going to have a scent. Because so often you could, like, oh, let me smell that peony, or let me smell that rose, and like it's got nothing there. And so when you smell yours, just sitting here by the wisteria and the roses, oh gosh, you're going to just love it.
Well, and I want to bring something, a really important thing for me to get out to the public too, is that so many times in weddings and birthday celebrations, everybody's using real flowers to decorate the cakes. But if you're buying your flowers from pretty much anywhere that are imported from South America, they are all heavily sprayed. And it is extremely toxic to put those in food. And so I'm just begging everybody, don't do it.
So you can put things, these can all go in soups and salads and on tops of cakes and no worries.
Right, exactly. And it is just something that most people are not aware of. And most caterers aren't aware of either. They're just shocked when I tell them, oh, I didn't even think about that.
It's just beautiful. Now, you have this one flower called ranunculus, and I was in California in Carlsbad, and they have a ranunculus flower farm, and it kind of reminds you of the tulips where you see row after row after row of color. But you know, I have noticed some of the area florists use some of your flowers. Is that right?
Yes, they do.
Oh my gosh, they're beautiful.
In fact, there's a new farmers collective in Hamilton that is that I'm now part of, and they're buying our flowers every week and then selling them to florists all over the city. So it's really fun, because now I'm getting to see our flowers and all over, from Cincinnati to Dayton, and that's really fun.
And they're not the typical flowers that you see. They really give a little punch of individuality to a flower arrangement.
Well, I think what's really neat is that they are all seasonal. So the flowers that you see at the grocery store are the same flowers week after week after week.
Right.
But ours aren't, because our flowers only last they have a short season. It may be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You know, the peony season was almost like one day. We went from tight buds on a Saturday to they all popped at one time.
I know, that went kind of quick.
It did.
And then the rain.
Yeah.
So, but they are just glorious plants, though.
I know. But going back to your ranunculus, so you asked how we do it. We plant them in October, and then we don't have yet a large hoop house. If we had a large hoop house, that's where they would go.
Now, a hoop house is one of those things with the
large dome.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And they can be heated or not heated. But so since we don't have that, we do what we call row covers. So we had like 4 or 5 rows over there, and they were all have row covers. And that's when you see the bent pipes out there.
Yes.
Those are ones we haven't taken off yet that we'll take off. We have cousin camp here this week with 9 of our grandchildren, so that's one of the things that's on their farm list.
What a cool! So it's a working camp.
It is. It's a working farm. It's got to be a working.
I love it. They love getting more skills. I'll bet you too.
They do. They love
Gotta
harvesting.
work hard for your money.
That's right. That's right.
That's neat.
But anyway, so we plant them in October, and then when it gets really cold, we actually put the old-fashioned Christmas lights in the tunnels. That helps raise the temperature just a little bit to keep them from freezing.
Now, how did you get that tip? I mean, do you think of it yourself? Or?
No, this was so great. When you go to farmers markets, you're networking with all the other farmers there, and they are so giving. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. So, I mean, I hope I'm giving, but I hope they're, you know, it's neat. Just we're all learning from each other.
Nobody wants a disaster after all the hard work that goes into loving Mother Earth.
And you do get disasters no matter how hard you try, but it does help when we listen to other people's journeys.
Well, now, I want to say something too. You have this glorious new solar-powered black barn.
Yes.
And it's got glass doors, so if you get heated, you can go in, feel a little AC, and get a little bit refreshed. And also, since Carol's experience with garden tours has been from England, she's also going to serve a bit of tea and some sweet treats. Can you tell us about the barn and that?
Okay, so when we were in England, they have an organization called the National Trust, and when people can't afford the taxes anymore, they donate their land and their homes to this National Trust. And so they have tours all the time of their gardens, and a whole volunteer force that helps, you know, maintain them. And that's what Jeff and I did a lot of the times while we were in England, and just had an absolute ball. Just went and absorbed and learned and took pictures and actually volunteered and took classes there. So that's kind of what we're trying to create here, where it's a place where people can come, learn, enjoy, volunteer if they want to. We've dedicated the garden to St. Francis of Assisi, hoping that it's really a place of peace.
I see that you've got like a mosaic here. It's beautiful.
So my background is an artist and art teacher. So I kind of came by all this pretty honestly, that, you know.
Well, now you're just painting with nature.
Exactly. My palette is all the different shades of flowers.
And you used to grow children, and now you're growing plants. That's cool.
There we go.
Well, you can see it. There's an artistic touch almost everywhere you look, by the planters, the area gardens, by the house. Oh, there's one more thing too. You have a greenhouse.
Yes, we do.
To your house, right?
Yeah, we added the greenhouse and the barn. So the greenhouse is where we start all our seeds, and we actually start in October for this year. So another one of my favorite plants besides dahlias is Lisianthus, and they have to be started in October, November, December in order to have them blooming, hopefully by the middle of June.
Those are one of those unusual flowers that just surprises you. They are so gorgeous.
They are, and they kind of look like a rose, and they have a really great vase life. And we're always looking for plants that have good vase lives.
Now, let's talk about this. It's like, okay, so you're a farmer, and I naturally think of the winter as your time off. But you're saying like November, planting, you know?
Yeah, well, we do classes here too. So November, December, January, February, March. We've got classes going pretty much nonstop. So whether it's wreaths for Thanksgiving or Christmas, or arrangements for any of those holidays in there.
That sounds cool.
Actually, Christmas card making and card making. And
all in the black barn.
All in the black barn. Yeah.
Well, now I've seen that on Facebook, and it looks like the crowds have a great time at those things.
They do.
So you harvest some of your things and dry them in order to reincorporate.
We've got a drying room underneath the greenhouse.
What don't you have here? My
goodness.
I
mean, it's just one of those things where you learn. You just if you want to be a farmer year round, you've got to have product year round, and dried is really hot right now.
So how do people purchase your flowers then? How does regular Joe do that?
They can go to the farmers markets on Thursday here in Lebanon.
And that's May through?
October.
October.
Yeah, probably the beginning of October.
Okay.
A little bit, maybe middle.
Starting to get a little nippy then.
Yeah. But we also do what we call CSAs, and that's community supported agriculture. Oh. And to me, that is our favorite way to sell flowers. So we have 8 weeks in the spring, 8 weeks in summer, and 8 weeks in fall. And they come on Fridays and pull up to the barn, and they can pick up their bouquets. We have them all
Okay, so I would pay you in advance.
Right, everybody.
And drive up and get my fresh bouquet and go on home and put it in my own vase and take care of it that way.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way to support the farm, your efforts to grow things organically, and then also to beautify your own house or a gift to give someone else.
Right, and the other thing is, what I love about it is that the flowers are going right from the field. They're being cut, hydrated, and put into the cooler for 24 hours, and then put in the vases for people to pick up And so they go right from the cooler to your car, to your home. So it is the best way to get fresh flowers.
And every once in a while you have a special. You'll put it on the Facebook and say, hey, got all these on the front porch, come and take, put your money in, and that's kind of neat too. So I did that one time, and my friend just thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great pick-me-up for her. So
what you mentioned is really what I love about this job the most, and that is how you allow me to touch people's lives.
You definitely
do. And they feel so loved and so nourished and taken care of.
That's right. Flowers are just a marvelous gift, and like it brings back lots of memories from your own, and then it's just it's just cheerful. It's just cheerful. So Carol, thank you so much for your work here, for you and Jeff, and for all your farmers, and thank you for being willing to share with us. So it's going to be so cool to come here and experience a flower farm. Come to the Black Barn. You can buy some flowers, buy some tea and some sweet treats, and just take in the atmosphere.
And we'll also have lots of plants for sale. We have an artist show actually, Rachel Dowd, and she brought her work in today, so you guys can see it. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Good. And so that's like cards and
soaps that we've made with a lot of the flowers from the farm, working with Ergonia soap. And we've got pillow covers and cards, and anyway, there's lots of things in there.
So it's going to be a one-stop, have fun shop here.
Yeah, and lots of plants. We're just going to have oodles and oodles of plants.
That's going to be great. Well, now, okay, so right now, what's blooming in the spring?
Well, right behind us you see, and this was one of the things, again, that I learned when I was in England. The rose hips are just one of the highest vitamin C's that you can have. So they're great for teas and herbal.
Yes.
So we've got lots and lots of green things right now. We've got blueberries blooming, apples are on the trees. So in June, we're hoping that a lot of our summer things will start to pop, and our status is just starting. And
so June 26th and 27th.
Yeah,
it's going to be around here sooner than we think.
There should be things just popping all over the place.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to Carol for showing everything off to us, and we look forward to seeing you on the garden tour here at CC Blooms. Thank you, Carol,
so much. I really appreciate it. We're looking forward to meeting everybody.
Super. Hello and welcome to the Pines Pet Cemetery and Crematory Center. I'm here today with Shannon Wood, the owner of this wonderful, marvelous, peaceful place. And she's going to share a little bit about the history. I'm dying to know how she picks out the statuary here, which is just absolutely stunning. And it's going to be one of our public places on the garden tour. So we have 5 private gardens, and then we have a couple public places to come. So we're going to talk about how to visit a cemetery and how to enjoy its beauty. So Shannon, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. We're honored to be on the tour again.
That is terrific. And this is going to be the 3rd time. So whenever we come out this distance out in the country, I call up Shannon and say, hey, is this good? Or Laura Elam will do that.
Yes.
And we'll just say, are you up for this again? And she generously says yes, because it's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to visit such a beautiful place that's dedicated to, will you tell us a little bit about what is the cemetery all about?
The cemetery is all about a place for to bury and cremate your pets. A place to memorialize them and remember them. So the Pines was started in 1966.
It's a big history.
It is. And it was originally a strawberry farm and a Christmas tree farm. And then the Biedermans decided to build the cemetery. And they started the cemetery in 66. And then my aunt and uncle bought the cemetery from them in 1979. So I purchased the cemetery in 1997 from my aunt and uncle, and have done a lot of upgrades and the bronze statuary and the new office building and such.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about the bronze statuary. It's just stunning. I mean, from life-size horses to beautiful depictions of dogs and women, just heroes. Tell me about, how do you pick those out?
You know what? When I see them, I know that they're going to fit. So I've made many trips up to New York and New Jersey, Connecticut, to purchase these statues. And when I see them, I know that they're going to fit in the cemetery. Right. There are some that I purchased years and years ago that we didn't have a place for at that time, but I knew that we would use them. Sooner or later. So, we have a lot of bronze statuary, but unfortunately you just don't see, it doesn't feel like there's a lot because there's 26 acres.
26, wow.
Manicured acres. There's 35 acres to the pet cemetery.
Well, and then with the bronze statuary, you've got young children playing with dogs, you've got stoic dogs, you've got graceful women. They're just beautiful, and each one has an emotion to it. I just feel like it's just a beautiful feeling of loving animals.
Yes, and it's a great tribute to animal lovers, all different varieties, whether they're children, women. We don't have a lot of male statues because they just don't have them. If they were out there, I would purchase them. Okay. But we have, the horses and the dogs, and there's not too many cat statues also. So we, that's why we have the lions in our cat section rather than a feline cat.
Okay, so calling all artists.
Right.
Male statuary and cats.
Yes.
So bronze statues.
We have some cat statues that are up by the building. They're small and we just don't wish them to walk off.
Right. Keep a good eye on them.
Yes, keep a good eye on them.
And then that way everybody gets to see them too
Exactly.
when they come to visit you in the office.
Exactly.
So neat. That's neat. And for the tour, what is the proper behavior when you come into the pet cemetery for families?
When you drive in, we would love for you to actually get out and walk the grounds if you would like to. It's beautiful. You can get up and close and more personal to the statuary, to the gardens. Just be respectful of anyone that might be here to be visiting their grave, but we treat the cemetery grounds as a park. So we want people, we want people to come in and enjoy. Right. Yeah, but be respectful and not, yelling and screaming or riding bikes on the grass. But as far as the tour, feel free to park in one of our parking areas, not on the road itself.
Right, because those are narrow and
exactly. But feel free to park and walk around.
Right, but just walking around and seeing all the wonderful names that the animals have been named, and you also have that pond too with the fish. Can you tell us about that?
We have about 40 plus koi in our pond that are at least 2.5 to 3 feet long. And they were actually my mom and dad's, from their farm, and we moved them over here when they sold their place. So we moved as many as we could catch over here. So they're about 35, 40 years old now. Yeah.
That's just a beautiful setting with the gazebo, and then you have two koi fish.
We do. Fish. We have koi statues along the gazebo, and we also have a bronze statue. And there's benches around the pond, so you can sit and enjoy.
Right.
Feed the fish if you feel free to stop in the office during hours, and we'll be happy to take you out and feed the fish.
Super. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Shannon.
Thank you.
This is just a marvelous opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for you to just experience the peacefulness in this wonderful atmosphere of their mature trees, their manicured lawns, and the beautiful statuary. It's just a marvelous feeling. I think the garden tour is wonderful for stress reduction.
Yes.
You just come down this driveway and you see the beautiful evergreens and the deciduous trees, and it's just a beautiful place. So thank you for all your efforts, and thanks for welcoming us to your beautiful
You're
cemetery.
welcome. Thank you. We're honored again to be on the tour. So thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, and now I'm sure you want to know more about the garden tour. We're here at Karen Trapp and Michael Trapp's beautiful ravine garden, where you're going to learn all about difficult spots to garden in and how to make them absolutely gorgeous. Karen is a member of the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs. She has helped renovate and refresh the garden at the Lebanon station, and so I'm really pleased that she and her husband said yes to being on this year's 31st annual Lebanon Garden Tour. Karen, thank you so much for having us today, and thank you for being on the garden tour this year.
Sure, it's a pleasure.
Well, we appreciate all your hard work. Now, you moved here how many years ago?
2008.
And what did the yard look like at that point?
Well, it was new construction, and so there was a lot of honeysuckle and
Oh boy.
a lot of overgrown areas in the ravine. So it's been a work in progress.
So what was your best method of getting rid of that honeysuckle? Because a lot of people have that problem.
Oh, persistence. Cut it down,
Dig it out.
spray it when it starts to come back, and just keeping at it.
Keep working at it.
My husband really worked hard at trying to get rid of it. We still have a little bit, but
Sure. Oh, sure. That's always going to keep coming up. So how many years would you say took to really kind of eradicate it from your yard where you wanted it to be gone?
oh goodness, at least 5 years.
5 years. Okay. So be patient.
Yes.
And now you recycle, reuse, and repurpose too. Can you tell us about all the gravel and the boulders and things like that? How you got those in your ravine and making your dry bed?
Well, my husband had trouble flipping the mower once on that kind of steep hill.
Yes.
So that prompted us to make some changes and making it safer for mowing. So that's when we started looking at adding the boulders to make that slope not quite so steep.
Right, not having the grass growing up there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had seen kind of a dry bed in a garden magazine as an inspiration. So we have a drainage culvert that goes through that ravine, and when it rains, we really get a lot of water through there.
Sure.
So we knew that that erosion was going to be an issue. So we added the boulder bed and all of the river rock. And
It looks beautiful.
that was the first step. And then we had a neighbor who was putting in a pond with a 14-foot waterfall out of rock.
Wow.
With a pool, and he had rock left over. So he needed to get rid of it, and
There you go.
that's how I got the rock. So the steps was the second phase, and they have really added, and it makes it easier for us to garden.
And what are the steps made out of?
Well, they're just large stones.
Okay, large
Just
stones.
Huge stones.
Beautiful. They just look gorgeous going down. And not only that, but you have vegetables and you have herb containers. And tell us about your different beds and what you have in those.
Well, the beds around the patio, we designed the house with those, knowing
Oh,
that
they're beautiful.
this was a home that we would age in place, and we also wanted to make it accessible for aging parents to live with us. So my mother was the first that lived with us, and she loved to garden. So we knew that the raised beds would make it easier for her to not have to climb into the bed or
Sure.
bend
down
over.
too low,
And
right.
so they've been great because they're very easy to maintain. And then we realized that when you're sitting on the patio, you don't really see those beds.
Right.
So we decided to expand.
And boy, have you ever.
So then we added the bed over
Oh, they're
there.
just-
And then we decided, well, you can't see, what you really see is that ravine area. So we decided to add the rock walls over there. Mike did those. And a lot of those rocks on the walls came from our yard.
Just various places.
Yeah. So when you're establishing a new lawn, there's always lots of rocks to.
And a good thing that you saved them and repurposed those. That's
Right,
great.
right.
Because the rocks really add a contrast between the green and the flowers and the mulch. It
It has
really
a nice
is.
organic look. I
Yes,
think.
definitely. It's very peaceful.
And then last summer with the pandemic, I decided to add some vegetables, which I hadn't really done much with vegetables other than tomato plants. And so Michael built that little terraced rock garden
Yes.
for vegetables. So that was my pandemic garden.
And then you have a couple arches too in
We
that area.
do.
What do you do with those?
Pole beans.
Okay.
And then the smaller arch is new this year, and I have squash growing on that.
And so it's going to grow up and around.
Right,
Ooh, that's going to be kind of pretty.
Yeah, the pole beans were really pretty.
Oh, neat.
And they were so easy because you just walk into the tunnel and you pull down your beans instead of bending over to pick your beans.
So not only beautiful, but delicious.
Yes.
That's neat. And COVID brought on a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. And improving your gardening skills and adding some vegetables definitely improved this area. And, when you say that you're gardening for ease of maintenance, and aging into this home, you not only put this container garden around your patio, but you curved it, and it just adds so much interest just by, waving its way around the home. I just love how you added the organic, just of a curve, with your brick wall. I just love taking pictures of it with your pergola and the waving of the stonework around your house is beautiful. And then you also have a whole area with containers with herbs in them.
We do. We do tomato plants in pots, and I have.
And why?
Well, I didn't have a vegetable garden, but we've always grown tomatoes, and they just seem to grow really well in that spot.
And it's a little bit higher for some of the animals to not nip
right,
it.
Right. And the herbs are real close to the kitchen, so I can just step outside the door. And herbs have a tendency to take over. So with them being in a pot, they're very contained, and they don't go where I don't want them to go.
That's right. And that's one of the things that you incorporated with the herb garden down at the train station when you refreshed that. Can you tell a little bit about how containers help herbs and maintain?
That was very overgrown, and by putting them in pots and sinking them in the ground, it looks like a regular garden, but it keeps those roots in check. And if someone's not familiar with the herbs, they know what a weed is, because if it's in the pot, it's probably an herb. If it's outside the pot, it's a weed, so pull it.
That's a good way to do it for a beginning gardener too. Is like, I'm not quite sure what I've got coming up, and if it's inside the pot, boom, we know that that's good stuff, and outside, all right, that's a neat tip there. And you'll see the herb garden at the station too, and it's absolutely lovely. And tell us about the herbs you grow here and some of the herbs at the station. You have your kitchen herbs, which are...
Right. Kitchen herbs is what I grow here. And I only grow the ones that I use regularly with cooking. So like rosemary and thyme, oregano, chives, basil, of course. And most of the parsley, most of those I can keep over the winter. I just move the pots inside.
Okay.
Basil's the only one that I can't keep over the winter.
Yeah, it's a little bit more tender than...
Yeah. The herb garden at the station, we tried to incorporate color, take that into account, so you'll see some color most all during the season, and some of those are perennials. The most, I think, interesting herb we have or plant is the hops. You'll see it growing up the pole.
Oh my gosh, growing up the pole, yes.
Yeah, it's a very vigorous grower, but really quite interesting.
That is a lot of fun. So if they're going by the station, just go into the grounds, walk on the grass, and see those hops growing up, or from the sidewalk you can see them too.
Yes, you can.
So. And the yellow yarrow is beautiful there too.
Yes.
That adds a lot of the color there too.
It's blooming now. It looks really, really
just
pretty.
Gorgeous. So thank you for your help on that. The station is just gorgeous. Everything's been renewed. And again, it's your emphasis on low maintenance.
Right.
You have tried to switch the station so that it's more manageable, less weeds. Can you tell us a little about that effort and what you pulled out, what you put in, and also Karen's a big one on when you're planting things, you put down preen and fertilizer. Is that, do I have that right?
Right. Well, the station garden wasn't real cohesive in the design. I think it was just a lot of perennials that members had brought in, and
right, we shared our gardens.
Right. And quite frankly, it was high maintenance. There was a lot of deadheading and just constant maintenance, which was difficult for the members to keep up with.
Right.
So we decided to take out a lot of those perennials that were high maintenance and put in lower maintenance plants that had more appeal throughout all seasons. So we added a lot of hydrangeas, things that
those,
just don't require a lot of maintenance. And there's interest in the spring. We put a lot of daffodils in along the street.
That was a nice show right up in front of the station on Broadway. Yes,
it was beautiful this spring. And we just tried to add some interesting plants that maybe you wouldn't always see, like beautyberry. Gets these purple berries in the fall and is really stunning.
Right. So you'll have to keep taking a look at the station, different seasons.
Right. And we added a couple new things this year. So it's a work in progress. We still have a couple things we want to add, but decided to wait till fall because of the cicadas.
yes.
coming.
A lot of people are doing that too. Wait to plant those new trees or new bushes until after that's taken care of. But yet we haven't seen any cicadas yet.
No.
So maybe by the time of this showing they'll be popping out or whatever, so that's good too. And talking about plants though, you have several plants that were from different relatives too here, weren't
We do. When Mother moved in with us, she brought a lot of perennials from her garden. And I have a couple from my aunt. I have a phlox that was from my great-grandmother's.
Oh, neat.
From
Very
West
sturdy.
Virginia.
Yeah.
So they have survived, and we have a bed of cleome, spider plant, that we just let grow wild, and it's really pretty because it blooms early summer and all until frost, really.
And what color is that?
It's pink.
Pink. Oh, okay.
But they get so tall, it's really easy to see them from the street, and just makes a nice showing.
Well, and that's going to be a fun thing about this garden too, because you've got sun, you've got herbs, you've got vegetables, you've got hill gardening. You've really got a little bit of everything, and you've got all the different types of sun exposures too. So, and Karen is such a knowledgeable individual. So that's one of the joys about going on the garden tour is talking to the gardeners. Like, hey, why'd you put that there? I've got this problem. I want to see how you solved it, or what works best there. So that's really an important part of why we put on the garden tour, is so that our visitors can learn more and be inspired to do things at their house too. And Karen has this wonderful gnome here. Karen, what's going to happen with these gnomes on the garden tour?
Well, we have a new feature this year with a scavenger hunt. We thought it would be fun for families and adults as well.
Oh, yes.
Scavenger hunts are always lots of fun.
They're the hot ticket now.
Yes, they are. So every home will have a gnome,
little guy,
that will be featuring a special plant or
feature of the
garden. And so you fill out your card and turn it in at the last garden that you're visiting, and you can win a gift card tree. And there's some nice
very
gift
generous
cards
donators,
on there. So there will be a drawing each day for Saturday and for Sunday.
That's going to be fun.
So look for the gnomes.
That's right. And can we give them a little teaser as to what your gnome is going to be by?
Well, you see he's holding a bird there. We have a bird and butterfly haven in the back of our.
So when you go to the garden, you got to look for the little guy, and then there'll be a question on your card, and you just have to fill in the answer. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So it's just a fun feature. You can do it. You don't have to do it, but those who would like to, we encourage you to do that, and you'll be able to turn in your finished card at any of the gardens. We'll collect those and then do the drawing. So that is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about some of the other gardens that people are going to see on the show today, and one is Debbie and Paul Berger's garden. And on our committee, Diana Linkus, who's our council co-president, she had said, Mary Pat, they were on the garden tour about 10, 11 years ago. How about them? They kind of live by Karen. We kind of try to find gardens that are nearby each other so that when you drive, you've got a 1-2 punch at least. There's somebody kind of close by. Well, the Bergers were an excellent garden back then, and they are now. Beautiful shade garden. They have over 500 hosta.
Wow.
So now you have a good amount of hosta here in your shade part of your garden too. And they have things from like Empress Woo, Big Daddy, Strip Tease, Guacamole, Curly Fries, which are the smaller hostas. So they've got the huge ones that go up to 10 feet sometimes, and then the tiny miniatures too. And so it's really going to be fun to see all the different textures, the colors, and just how they have them cascading throughout their beautiful woodland garden. And they happen to have a gnome house. It's so much fun. They had a tree come down and they just put a roof on it, and it's been newly renovated just for the garden tour too. So we appreciate that. And then we have Ray Lynn and Jim Beck. And this will be the third time they're on the garden tour. And we do that with very special gardens. The Beck garden is frequently asked, are they going to be on the tour again? Are they going to be on the tour? And 1850 farmhouse that has been in the family's ownership ever since it was built. So Jim's, it goes great grandparents bought the property and farmed it, and so their driveway is a mile long, and they are two of the most fun-loving, wonderful supporters of the Lebanon Council of Garden Club's garden tour. They are going to have Burma Shave coming down their long driveway. So you'll be greeted by a cool message coming down their driveway. And they have a white picket fence. And then it's kind of like a grandma cottage garden where there's lavender and roses and cleome. Is that how you say that? Okay. And just a lot of beautiful flowers that, in fact, in 2003, they were in a Good Housekeeping's Country Garden magazine. They were featured, and their garden was mapped out and absolutely gorgeous. And they've had 2 children married there in their garden, and the Queen will be present there. Ray Lynn just loves the Queen of England, and for her birthday she had a celebration at her house, so she's going to have a life-size cutout of the Queen and her corgi dog, and she's going to have a tea setting set up under a canopy so that you've got a great photo op. I was at the garden tour with the Queen, so you'll be able to enjoy that too. And then we also have the Miller Ecological Garden. We have 5 private gardens, and then we have 5 public locations. And again, the garden tour is up to you. You go to what you would like to do. At 5 of our private gardens, you will get a ticket that will be punched. And one of our other private gardens is Judy and Myron McClure. They have 200 blueberry bushes that will be ripe for the picking. McClure's have apple, pear, apricot, pie cherry trees, and they also have red, purple, green, and white grapes too. So your children and you will get a chance for a true orchard feel there. And they have gorgeous beds that are accented by the stones from right nearby Clear Creek. So the McClures will offer just a beautiful place for you to enjoy their garden. Karen has added so much to our lives and to the city of Lebanon just by beautifying the station, being on the garden tour. So come and join and be a part of and meeting people like Karen who are civically minded and enjoy nature and beauty. The garden club can be a great outlet for you too, and so we really appreciate that, Karen. And then another one is Glendower, where we have another couple dedicated members, Janice Pilkington, who serves there, and they have the Ohio Horticultural program where they have a medicinal garden at Glendower, which would have been indicative of the time when the garden, so that they would pull things for their kitchen and also to heal themselves. So they have a little garden that way, and then just the grounds are just lovely. And we appreciate the Historical Society for selling our online tickets. So you just go to Warren County Historical Society of Lebanon, Ohio, and you can purchase your tickets online there too, as well as at the Brick House on Broadway, Engravery and Personalized Gift Shop, and then the Village Ice Cream Parlor, who have sold our tickets for a number of years, and we greatly appreciate that too. They have been very generous.
If you have trouble finding it, if you look at their website and then put /garden tour, it'll take you right to it.
Okay, so put in the Warren County Historical Society and then /garden tour.
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you very much. That helps out a great deal. And then you saw we have the Pines Pet Cemetery, which is also the 3rd time for that being on the tour too, because it's very close to our gardens and we like to highlight the beauty there. And Hidden Valley Orchards too are going to be serving brews, and they're part of the scavenger hunt, right?
They are. They're going to be a scavenger hunt location.
So they'll be fun there too. And then of course our beautiful station will be on the tour. So again, 10 gardens for $20 the day of the tour, $15 ahead of time. So buy your tickets ahead of time and save $5 and support the station. The Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs purchased that grounds and built the station back in the 70s, and as a entryway into Lebanon to provide beauty. And so we take care of the maintenance of the station, the plumbing, the roof, the painting, and also all the groundkeeping. And so we greatly appreciate you buying tickets for the tour, and that helps us to keep that station looking gorgeous and a beautiful entryway into Lebanon as it was originally intended. So thank you very much. And we just hope that you come on the garden tour, enjoy it with your family, and it's rain or shine, right?
Yes.
Karen will allow you in her garden, put your puddle jumpers on and your raincoat and your umbrella, and you can still enjoy a beautiful day with us in the gorgeous Lebanon, Ohio at the Lebanon Council of Garden Clubs Garden for the 31st annual year. See you June 26th and 27th. And thanks for being with us today. Karen, thank you.
Sure, enjoyed it.